session. So I've been a frequent instructor working with AIU. My area of expertise include self-development as well as HR and leadership, human resource management and leadership. I find today's topic really interesting, which is ethical leadership and corporate social responsibility. So before actually diving into this, I would want to ask all of you a question. Probably you have heard of this word ethical. So my question to you is, are you an ethical person? If you ask yourself, if you rate yourself, will you consider yourself to be an ethical person? Now, our definition of ethics may vary. I mean, each and every one of us may have a different understanding of what ethics is. You may call it as a personal set of rules and values that you set for yourself that you are going to follow and you won't be deviating from them, maybe. Or you can define it in a way that it's about doing the right thing. I mean, you know that what is the, I mean, you have multiple options to do something, but you will always focus on doing the right thing, maybe. Or on the other hand, if you are very clear regarding the black and white and the gray area of decisions, if that is one context which you can think on. So ethical leadership has got a lot to do with leadership traits. Over the years that we have been studying leadership, in my previous sessions, I have talked about leadership. I focus a lot on personality traits. You know, success of leadership has got a lot to do with how an individual actually behaves or actually transmits the understanding of his or her own core values, belief systems, personal milestone, personal goals. So in order to understand leadership of any type, firstly, we need to understand that our personality traits have got a lot to do with that. So before even starting the session formally, my suggestion to you would be that take it as a context of whenever we are going through certain case studies of companies, we are talking about Apple, or in this particular scenario, we will be talking about Patagonia, Wells Fargo, and different companies. Put yourself in the shoes of those leaders. I mean, if you were the leader at that time in which a certain incident was happening, what would you do? Will you still stick to be an ethical leader? Will you choose to do the right thing, or will your actions will be a bit different? But that is obviously up to you. You guys can always reach out to me for further questions and opinions through my social media handles, which are being shown on the cover slide. All right. So let us quickly define what ethical leadership is, and it's good to start with a clear-cut definition, and then we can obviously share our opinions. Ethical leadership is all about leading an organization with a strong sense of ethics, integrity, and values. I mean, we do have an understanding of what ethics is. Uh, I would want you guys to reflect upon your individual values as well. I mean, I do believe that all individuals, we hold on to a set of core values that we follow. I would suggest, I would encourage that you use the chat box and write down at least 3 core values that you follow as an individual, as a professional. For example, for me, it would be transparency, openness, and honesty. I mean, I'm just like thinking on top of my head that these are the 3 things that I truly believe in. I would want to have open conversations. Full disclosure is one of my top priorities. I would want to have an honest relationship as a professional. All right. So please feel free to share that what are your set of core values. I will be having a look at the chat box, and depending upon that, we can obviously align the examples that will be coming your way. So what ethical leaders actually do? Ethical leaders prioritize doing what is morally right over what is merely profitable or expedient. You know, this is very important. For a business organization, the most important thing obviously is to generate profit. But at what cost? The question is that if an organizational leader is facing a challenge that their decisions, their actions are going to be questionable, not in terms of legal practices, because obviously then they won't be allowed, but in terms of ethical context. ethics is a bit different than the legal. It's a bit lenient, I would say. I mean, in legal practices, you know that something is right and something is wrong. But in case of ethical dilemmas, the surety is not there. Most of the people, they don't know that what is the wrong or right thing. So it's basically on all about our own judgment. So as a leader, ask yourself, if you are working, if you are running your own business, maybe, so would you be considering that whatever I'm doing, is it good for the planet? Is it good for the people? I mean, would you be willing to keep your profit generation uh, targets and goals aside and focusing on what is the right thing to do? I mean, it may seem like a very interesting thought, but we have to consider that most of the organizations, they are just like having very kind of shaky, I would say, a shaky stance towards being more ethical and less. Whenever I buy something for my kids, whether it is some snacks or some juices or something, I do wonder and I do ask that the wrapper of those chips maybe that is of plastic, and we know that plastic is not recyclable. I mean, most of the products that are being used as part of wrapping, they're not recyclable. I mean, my kids are obviously going to eat those chips and then discard the wrapper. That wrapper is going to be there somewhere. I mean, in the planet for the rest of the years to come. So I usually wonder that is it really worth it? I mean, why are these organizations, these companies making profit over something that is creating a cost to the overall environment? I mean, this is just a very basic example just to help you understand. I mean, most companies nowadays are focusing on recyclable practices and making products which are not harmful to the environment. But still, we see that there are a lot of businesses making a lot of money and still not willing to contribute to the society in a way. So I must wonder that if you are in a leadership position of those organizations, what would you do? So I'll finish this slide and then I'll have a look at the chat box and try to respond what you're asking. So I think we do understand that ethical leaders, they do want to generate profit for their organization, but not at the cost of the environment or not at the cost of the core values or not at the cost of the guiding principles which we all should follow in this world, such as fairness, transparency, accountability, and having a sense of respect for everyone. I mean, these are just like a few values. I will be sharing more in the coming slides, but just to give you an idea that if a leader knows that what is the right thing to do, I mean, we all come across these ethical dilemmas very frequently in our lives. I mean, you may be able to reflect upon your life. I believe that we face these ethical challenges, I mean, very frequently. Like, like we are not being monitored all the time. We are not being watched all the time. We are free to make our decisions. But are those decisions that we are making, are they based upon our core values, our integrity, our morals, our ethics, or are we just focusing on achieving our goals? I mean, since I'm a teacher, so I have a lot of interaction with my students, and you can also recall your time when you were a student in your school or college. I mean, you are a student right now, but it is more like a interactive thing that is going on. But recall your time when you were in your school and college. When the teacher used to ask that why did not you complete your homework, or why are you like lagging behind in your study? So I generally, when I ask this question with my students, they generally like make an excuse whatever comes in their mind just to like get done with things. But there are few students who choose to speak the truth and who decide that whether it is going to cause them embarrassment maybe, or whether the teacher is going to get really angry on their response, but they are going to speak the truth. I mean, it takes a lot of courage for a student to stand up in the class and tell the teacher in front of the class fellows that he or she was lazy. I mean, I remember that very recently I asked a student in my class that why you haven't completed this thing, and he said, "Sir, sorry, I don't have any excuse. I was just being lazy." So I respect that. I mean, I truly appreciate it because I know that that individual is being honest. I mean, being lazy is not good in any way, but at least he or she chose to be honest. Otherwise, if they make an excuse, if they say, "Sir, there was something happening in my family, there was some issue going on in my with my relatives," so I have to like believe them. I would not be investigating that whether it is actually happening or not. But this is all about having a personality which is based around a set of core values. So allow me to quickly have a look at the chat box. All right. So many wonderful. All right. Good night. Good night. Good night. Okay. Good morning. Good night. Wherever you are. Okay. So, I mean, there are a lot of greetings coming. Okay. Honesty and what are the qualities of good ethical leadership? We'll come to that. I'm ethically oriented. Trust. Oh, fine. So wonderful. Keep on sharing. I mean, people are asking that. What are the key characteristics or traits of being an ethical leader? We'll come to that. Don't worry. Since you were actually asked, so I've shared a recent uh, uh, part of a recent publication that was done on ethical leadership. It is based upon research. So when I'm going through these traits, ask yourself that is that trait present in you or not? Because you know we can learn about Nelson Mandela, we can learn about Mahatma Gandhi, we can learn about all the wonderful ethical leaders in the world, but what benefit is it going to give us as long as we don't learn the traits that they follow and we try to incorporate those traits in ourselves. So the research says that in order to be considered as an ethical leader, you need to have integrity. I mean, integrity's definition is very simple, that you are you are always believing in what you are doing. You're convinced that what you are doing is not violating any standard, and you stick to that regardless of all the pressure that is coming your way from the different stakeholders. That those stakeholders may include your customers, your suppliers, uh, your even board of directors as well, but you choose to stay on the right path. So that shows that how much integrity do you have. Secondly, in terms of organizational ethical leadership, safety is another very important aspect where it's a responsibility of a leader to develop a psychologically safe workplace for the employees. I must add over here that this care and concern for the employees and their well-being has been a very trending topic in the recent years, particularly during the time of the global pandemic. The safety and health of employees became a very important and integral, because the company knows that what kind of an environment they are providing to their employees. I'll share an example with you, a very realistic example that happened with me. I mean, I've, we can always recall our own examples. You know, our building is relocating. I mean, where we are teaching right now, our university is expanding, and we were asked, our department was asked to relocate to another department. And before actually the relocation occurred, we were encouraged to go and have a visit of that place. So while I was visiting, I saw that those rooms were, the offices were quite big, but the windows were covered by shades because uh, there is another organization in our neighboring environment, and they have some privacy concerns. So the windows were covered, and the room was like totally filled up with electricity light. I mean, and there was no chance of sunlight coming in. So most of the rooms were facing this issue. You know, when I was asked that, what do you think, should we move into this building? I said that this is not a very safe workplace for our employees. Uh, I mean, they're not going to get access to sunlight. It's going to cause a lot of damage to their mental health. You know, our decision makers, they were really surprised that what am I talking about? Because this place has been there for so many years and people have been working in those offices. But since this is not a legal issue, I mean, if you are there in that office, you cannot write a legal complaint. You can't go to the court. I mean, you can go to the court, but the court is not going to take it very like seriously because you have an office, you have a space, but focusing on the sunlight, it creates a kind of a discussion that needs to be addressed. So this aspect is focusing on the ethical side of things. Like, is it the right thing to do to ask an employee to move over there? You know, since we are seniors, so I was told that okay, if you don't like the room, you should choose not to go, but we will adjust someone else. I reached out to those someone else who were going there, and I told them that this place is not safe for you. So why not you should speak up and raise your voice that at least there should be sunlight coming in. I mean, now it's up to their ethical leadership and their ethical standards that if they are going to speak up regarding that. But this is a part of, I mean, raising your voice regarding things which are not legal, but they have an impact can also be a part of ethical leadership. All right, moving forward. An ethical leader always leads by example by having a positive mindset and a good work ethic. I mean, you need to ask yourself that in terms of challenges and crises, are you able to hold on to a positive mindset? And what about your work ethic? I mean, are you a thorough professional? You need to ask yourself this question that are you punctual? Do you take full responsibility of your actions? Uh, do are you always clear that if you assume a responsibility, if I mean if you are getting paid to do some work, are you actually doing it to the full of your energy and effort? All these questions they give you an idea that are you an ethical person or not. But it's really important and critical to have this kind of a goal in our lives that we need to be very much ethical, because at the end of the day it's going to be us who will be becoming organizational leaders. So why not be ethical leaders? So are you trustworthy? Someone that people can easily trust. I mean, do you stand by your words? We all like leaders who are not deceptive. You know, in our organizational workplaces, usually organizational politics and conflicts is something very common. And I mean, it goes on. I mean, if you watch even television shows regarding uh, which are made on the environment of offices, you see that there is a lot of conflict and lot of issues based upon that people are actually lying. People they do lie to get their vested interests served. So ask yourself that are you one of those persons, or would you want to choose to be a trustworthy individual? Because we can always make choices, and choices are really important. The next thing is regarding the awareness and promotion of equality, diversity, and inclusion. I mean, this is really wonderful. You know, an ethical leader would not discriminate. An ethical leader would never discriminate among genders, among classes, among any other entities which are present in their workplace. An ethical leader would always be transparent and approachable. Ask yourself that can you say that you are an individual who is accountable, transparent, responsible, and approachable? You've got nothing to hide. You need to ask this question to yourself. uh, Ethical leaders also have a lot of empathy, because you know all these values cannot be incorporated in you if you are not empathetic. I mean, yeah, if you have a genuine care and concern for people, regardless of the type of business organization that you are running, regardless of that, if you have a genuine interest for the well-being and growth of the people around you, then you would be having empathy. And empathy is an integral part of being an ethical leader. Yeah, meaning that do you have the ability to show compassion where needed? All right. I mean, you are there to get the things done. You are there to get achieve the goals which are being set by the organization. But do you have a concern for the people who are working with you? Let me go back to that pandemic time period. As I did mention that a lot of care and concern was there regarding the well-being of employees, because there was a health hazard, health risk going on in the world. So most of the companies that did shift to remote working, the employees were asked that they can actually work from their homes. Most companies switched to hybrid mode. I mean, people are coming in the organization and people are actually working remotely as well. I was just reading while preparing these slides, I was just reading that Johnson and Johnson is a company which during the COVID time period switched a lot of employees to remote work, and now they have asked everybody to come back. All right. So because they believe that remote work is not making their organization really productive. So the thing is that uh, providing an option to do remote work, I mean, doing work from the comfort of your own home is a part of showing empathy for your employees, showing concern for their well-being. I mean, it is kind of a good gesture, an ethical gesture that, all right, people cannot travel, they cannot come to the workplace, their life is at risk. So why not give them an option to stay home and work from there? So, but anyhow, the last thing is about being socially responsible. I mean, your organization is one thing, but what about the environment? What about the society? What about your country? What about the planet? Let me ask you this question. How many of you think about the planet? I mean, ask you this question. I mean, we do think about our life, our goals, what we want to do, what we want to achieve, how much money are we earning, how much assets do we have. I mean, it's good to think about yourself and improve your life, but how many of you actually think about the planet frequently? Ask yourself this question. A planet means that our environment, uh, cleanliness is one thing. I mean, good, doing good with the environment is another thing. But being socially responsible, I mean, thinking of the communities around you. How many of you think about your communities? Because I believe that if everyone who gets an opportunity to do something big in their life, I mean, if they're not reflecting that growth in their families or in their communities, then it's like it seems that it is incomplete. Okay, I mean, Pakistan, the country that where I live in, is a struggling country. We are like considered as a third world country. We are hoping to go on the right track. Still a long way to go, but the people from here they actually want to go to. I mean, teachers like me, they want to go to abroad and serve over there. I mean, in developed countries. So they do have faced this ethical question that what about their obligation to teach in their own country? What about the people in their own country who can learn more things from them? But this is since there is no yes or no answer to these things. It's an ethical dilemma, all right? So, I mean, you can always, all right, greetings. You can always use the chat box to tell me that you are actually getting my points. You are finding this information valuable and helpful so that this gives me a lot of motivation to come up with more examples and feel more energized. I mean, we do get the feedback at the end of the session, but it's good to share during the session as well. All right. So another very interesting theory regarding ethical leadership is, I mean, this is just going to elaborate further on the concept, is regarding 5 P's of ethical leadership. I mean, if you want to remember this after this session, if you want to remember ethical leadership, uh, and always put yourself in the shoes of an ethical leader. Ask yourself, do you have a sense of purpose? I mean, the ethical leaders, they believe, the ethical leaders, they believe, just give me a second. Just give me a second. All right. I'm back now. All right. So, sense of purpose is a higher calling for all individuals. I mean, we all understand that we are here in this planet for a purpose. I mean, hopefully, I'm hopeful that all of us understand this thing that we are here on this planet for a purpose. I mean, do you actually believe it? Are we just here to spend some time, enjoy our life, and then done with that? Or do we actually want to do something big, to achieve something wonderful? Is that a part of our higher purpose or not? Now, good ethical leaders, they have a higher sense of purpose. They believe that, I mean, getting the profits and generating profits is a good thing, but what about making this world a better place? ask yourself this question: that do you believe that your individual personality, your presence in this world can actually make it a better place? Have you ever thought about this in this way? Do you have this perspective in your mind? Probably, I mean, right now you may be wondering that I'm not actually doing anything to make this world a better place. I'm just focused on making my life better, maybe. So, what about your bigger purpose? Ethical leaders, they have a bigger sense of purpose. They understand that it's not about like generating profits and getting market share. That's not it. Let's think about the bigger things. The bigger things include making this world a better place. Like, for example, Bill Gates, you may already know, Microsoft's previous CEO. Uh, he was able to make a lot of money while working while heading or leading Microsoft. And after that, he spent that lot of money into making this world a better place by investing in polio eradication campaigns. Even in Pakistan, Bill Gates is playing a lot of role. He's donating a lot of money to eradicate the disease of polio uh, from our country, which is like obsolete from all the possibly, I would say, developed countries, but unfortunately, it's still there in the struggling countries. Now, it is not an obligation on him. Bill Gates, if he's from USA, why would he care that people in Pakistan or in some other country are dying because of a disease? Because he understands that since he has the money, he has the funds, he has the resources, so he's not going to like keep on doubling that money over and over and over again to an unlimited. He would want to make full use of that money to make this world a better place. All right. So we should all remember that whenever we are blessed with opportunities, with things, with possessions, with items that make our lives better, we should be understanding and realizing that we have a bigger purpose to give it back to the society as well. So it's okay to struggle for a time period, but when you are in a position that you can actually make this world a better place, if you're an ethical leader, you would never think twice and move on with that. So first P is purpose. Second P is pride, which means that you have a high self-esteem and stand up for what is right. An ethical leader won't take any pressure and would believe that doing the right thing is more important than doing what is going on or what is in favor of the organization. Doing the right thing is important. I think we all come across a lot of situations in our lives where there is always a choice. So I would suggest that in order to make way for yourself to be an ethical leader, always choose what is right. I mean, regardless of what do you end up losing, doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, you feel you have gained pride and improved your self-esteem. I mean, I try to do it. Obviously, my decisions are not the decisions that are coming my way. They're not costing me. I mean, like the whole world, but standing up for what is right is very important. Similarly, patience, having positive thinking and believing that the challenges and all these things are going to pass and things are going to get better. Now, ethical leaders are they have the ability to be persistent as well. They uh, they don't just try to do the right thing. They are actually believing that doing the right thing is more important. So it's not about doing one thing right uh, in a decade or probably in like 20 years of your career. It's about making continuous right decisions. And at the end, it's about perspective as well, that seeing what is important, a bigger point of view. The example that I gave regarding Bill Gates and even Nelson Mandela and even all the other leaders, even Walt Disney, all these business leaders, they see beyond normal profits. I mean, gaining market share and profit is one thing, but they see beyond it. uh, this they visualize, they imagine, they think that, you know, the founder of Apple company, Steve Jobs, he he was a very inspirational figure. I would suggest all of you to, in your spare time, do have a look at his speeches and what he's sharing regarding life and professional experiences, because his opinions, his there is a lot of content available on YouTube, which is going to like really help you find purpose in life and motivate you as well. So Steve Jobs used to say that I want to put a dent in the universe. I mean, as part of his personal goals, he said that he had a goal that he wanted to put a dent in the universe. I mean, like uh, this is like thinking big. I mean, if I think that I think to myself that I want to make my city better, I want to make my community better. I mean, I'm just restricting myself to my geographic location because of my limitations that are there in my mind. Why not through my teaching? I want to make this world, not only this world, but this universe a better place. I mean, this thought even seems very unrealistic, but thing is that big ethical leaders or leaders who have actually made this world better, they think big, they think out of the box, they think of things, they think of ideas which other people are not capable of. So quickly have a look that do you have these characteristics in you or not, so that we can proceed. All right. Now, I think let us see some examples of actual organizations, and I've shared the link of the official website of these organizations as well. When I will be sharing the slides with you, you can always refer to, I mean, it's pretty simple. That is thecompany.name.com afterwards. But these companies, they give, I mean, like really good examples of both ethical leadership and CSR. It goes hand in hand. Since our topic today is ethical leadership and CSR, and we are like moving on to the CSR part of that. So I would want to give an example of a company, that is Patagonia company, which is a clothing company. Now, just quickly have a look at its overall goals and objectives and what they are doing. I mean, obviously, they are selling clothes to make profit, no doubt about it. But they are focusing on what? Environmental commitment. They believe that but through their selling of their products, they want to make this environment better. I don't think this is the concern for a lot of organizations that are working. I mean, a lot of businesses which are there, they don't care. I mean, what impact are they creating to the environment? But don't you think that a concern should be there? Don't you think that most of the companies should be focusing on the environmental sustainability aspect as well? All right. So there are few things that are, and this is a food for thought that I'm giving to you. I would suggest that you do your own research after the session. They offer sustainable products. They offer worn wear program. I mean, pre-used, pre-loved, or I mean, reusable products are always there. They give 1% for the planet. They whatever they generate, if they generate $100 from their sales, they donate or dedicate $1 for the improvement of the planet, because they are gaining profit from that planet also. So similarly, they are socially responsible, having fair labor practice. They believe in activism and advocacy. You know, an organization which believes that we should be vocal regarding how to make this world and planet a better place, and it is encouraging you to do it. This shows that it has a very clear idea that the business is not all about generating money, it's about making this world better as well. And they believe in having transparent leadership, and very important, profit with purpose. Now, this does not mean that environmentally responsible or socially responsible companies, they don't mean that they don't want to earn money. Money is going to be there. But in addition to that, what about an overall sense of purpose? Now, let us see what is CSR, corporate social responsibility. I've talked a lot about ethical leadership, but let's focus now on corporate social responsibility. to improve society and environment beyond profit making. I mean, a simple definition of this is that let's make our environment, our society more better through our business practices. The key issues including in and I'm going to go through them very quickly since we have a limited time. So let us try to cover as many things as we can. Focusing on the environment, uh, eco-friendly or eco-efficiency products. I mean, what you are making, for example, if a production of a certain product, for example, if you are in a shoemaking company, I mean, there are some factories running, there are some machines running. The machines, they run on the fuel. When the fuel is consumed, it is creating something to the environment. So what about the eco-efficiency element of that? What about reducing that so that, I mean, if you're going to reduce that, it's going to incur some cost to your organization. You are going to face some money challenges because if you want to improve a system, but that money is going to be invested on making this planet better. If you guys been to UK to London, I would say that this was one experience that I had that London is very congested and there is a very like a lot of load regarding traffic. It's like impossible, virtually impossible to drive in London because of the load. The parking tickets are very high. You know what the government has done, that they have imposed a tax on the vehicles which are entering London because they don't encourage people to use their own transport to come into London and like choke the whole traffic. They would encourage you to use the trains and the other public transport modes because firstly, using a train, using public transport mode is more eco-friendly because like in one train there are like 100 people and if those 100 people are divided into their own cars, probably they will have around 40-50 cars. So the impact on the environment and on the societies at large. So the Minister of London has imposed a tax on fuel cars which are entering, on diesel cars, on petrol cars, and probably there is less tax on the electric cars because they are more environment friendly. So this is also important. Now, responsible sourcing is there. Like if you're reaching out to the vendors, to the suppliers of your business, make sure that you're not creating any problem or any challengeable thing that you are doing. If you guys uh, probably already know, there is a context of blood mineral and blood diamond. I mean, the diamonds and minerals coming from the areas, the underdeveloped areas. There is a lot of politics going on them. The businesses are making a lot of money, but they are not really concerned about the well-being of the people from actually where the product is being sourced. So, as part of CSR, it is required. Uh, uh, Pakistan, Bangladesh, India serves as a hub for making so many wonderful products like jeans, leather jackets. Uh, so most of the brands, including Tommy Hilfiger, Levi's, Denim, they are like globally recognized brands. They source their products from Pakistan, from Bangladesh, Pakistan, and India because of cheap labor and everything. So it becomes their responsibility that if the labor working in Pakistan who are like making their products, if they are working in an unsafe environment, because recently in Bangladesh, one of the buildings collapsed and like 300, 400 people, they actually died because of that collapse. And when it was investigated, they found out that it was a factory which was making clothing and products for a big company like Tommy Hilfiger. And since cheap labor concept is there, so no focus was there on their well-being. And eventually, the company Tommy Hilfiger was held responsible. I mean, there was a lot of hue and cry on the media, but important thing is that the company should be doing responsible sourcing, engaging all the stakeholders to make sure that everybody's opinion. Consumers, suppliers, the stakeholders include consumers, supplier, regulators, legal entities, that they have a say that how we should be able to manage our socially responsible standards. Labor standards and working conditions should be improved. All right, let us quickly go through all the points so we are able to move on and able to cover all the topics which are which are supposed to be discussed today. Uh, Employee and community relation, gender balance, human rights, good governance. These are all the key issues which are there as part of CSR. Usually, CSR is just interpreted as doing something good for the society. I mean, if you are running a business in a community, why not on a special event like Christmas? Why not give a sale? I mean, these are just typical things. But in bigger picture, CSR can can actually make this world better. I mean, this is the whole point that companies can actually create a significant difference if they are just ensuring that there is a sense of social responsibility that they are following. Let us take the example of Unilever. Now, Unilever is like a pretty famous company having some really wonderful products. They focus on improving health and well-being, like for everyone, not for their customers only, but making products which is making this world a better place. I mean, pharma companies can claim this as well. Obviously, they can claim it because their medicine is making this world better. Unilever also believes in reducing the environmental impact. I mean, what is the environmental impact? Obviously, the factory is running, and you know, if a product is produced in a factory, it has to be transported to the warehouses and to the shops. So transportation modes are used, and obviously the transport it runs on some kind of a fuel. And when that fuel is there, so each product has a carbon footprint, something that is creating a cost to the environment. But like, who is thinking about it? Companies like Unilever, they actually care, or they state that they care, and they also focus on enhancing the lifestyle or livelihoods of communities which need uh, better support from them. This is like an initiative taken by Unilever over the years, and I'll be showing you a few more examples as well. And these companies, they really care. They, at least they show that they care. All right, they talk about health and hygiene, improving nutrition, saving water. You know, in India, when PepsiCo was working in India, there was a petition, there was a lawsuit filed against them that it is said, I'm not like sure because I'm not a chemical engineer, but it is said that in order to make 1 liter of Pepsi or Coke, at least 14 liters of water is required. Okay, this is what they say. So So a lawyer went into the courts and said, this company is actually spending, is actually using so much water from our sources in a country like India where there is a severe shortage of drinking water for people. I mean, in a country where people are not actually getting the opportunity to drink clean water, a corporation comes over there and starts making a luxurious product like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, which is not like a healthy product. They're not like making the world better by creating Pepsi or Coke. So, and eventually the case was won by uh, the, these petitioners, and the company actually had to install a water filtration plant in an area like Rajasthan, where the access towards water was much limited. All right, thank you. Some wonderful comments coming in the chat box. You can all hear the prayer calling in the background. It is like late night in Pakistan. This is the last prayer of our day. So, all respect for this prayer and moving on. Okay. Uh, Quickly moving on. So the question is that is CSR actually a marketing gimmick, or actually companies are doing something to make this planet better? Because most companies, yeah, we will come to the questions in the later part of session. Thank you for raising your hand, but I will encourage that if you ask questions at the end, probably 10 to 12 minutes from now, because we want to wind up our session, and then I will be willing to, very happy to take on your questions. So is CSR actually becoming a marketing gimmick? Is there, are the companies actually doing something for the environment, or are they just promoting it online or through different advertising mediums to show that they are environmentally responsible and they are like doing something? This is an interesting argument, because when a company claims that they are doing actually something for the environment, it is creating a good branding image of that organization also in front of all the stakeholders, including the customers and the suppliers. But nobody actually knows that whether they are actually doing it or they are just claiming it. So there have been a lot of challenges on companies' practices, uh, and most of the there is a lot of debate on the claims that were not actually true in terms of organization. Okay, so why do we talk about ethical leadership and CSR? It is very important and critical for the organization, because it enhances the brand reputation, the value of the organizations. Uh, Through ethical leadership and CSR, people tend to respect the organization and brands even more. Which leads to an increase in customer loyalty, and the customers, they tend to believe, customer being the main stakeholder of any business, they believe that if they are in a relationship with a certain, you know, I'm using a mobile phone, I'm using a network on my mobile, an ABC network. If they tell me that if you pay like certain amount per month, 5% of your amount will go to the well-being or the charity of some underprivileged people, I would be more than happy to stick to my uh, product, and I would be like feeling proud and very loyal to my selection of product, that because I would know, okay, if I'm spending a certain amount of money, I'm actually contributing towards making this world a better place. There are many initiatives which are being taken by different brands, which show in floods, even in other calamities, in other issues, the big brands, they show up and they claim responsibility. So this creates a very positive impact over their users, because the users then know that we are associated with brands which are actually making this world better. This also helps in getting access to the top talent. I mean, employer branding is something that people with good uh, people with exceptional education, exceptional skills, they want to work for top brands. So they end up choosing those brands which serve as a platform to promote and encourage ethical leadership and CSR practices. And this leads to long-term profitability as well, sustainability as well. I mean, this is one mode, this is one way through which businesses can actually uh, find way to have a long-term association or a relationship with their businesses. That is something, that organizations or businesses can have in their long-term profits. Now, I have some examples of ethical failures. We have talked about some very positive things, but at the end, I wanted to share some big scandals that happened in the history. And you can always, whatever information is being given to you in this 50-60 minute session is like just the tip of the iceberg. You can always go on the internet and look for more information, research on the topic more, depending upon your interest. So you will find really interesting things. I wanted to share some interesting scandals which were there over the years. We have heard of Volkswagen, which is a company, and it faced a very, I would say, ethical and legal issue, because they were found guilty of installing defeat devices in their diesel engines to cheat emission tests. Now, what is this? I just gave you an example of London that if you are in a diesel car and if you are entering London, you would automatically be charged with a certain tax, like it is 30 pound or 25 pound, which will be your London entering tax, because like you are putting a burden on London. So what if that machine which is working over there, it reads your car as an electric car, then it would not be charging you any tax. So they launched a car and they stated that it is like very much fuel efficient. It has like it has like, for example, if a normal car is doing 5% carbon emission, Volkswagen claimed that this car is doing 1%, which is like significantly less. When it was discovered that they actually cheated, they actually installed a machine which was like dodging the scanners. The emission was same, it was still 5%, but the scanners were being dodged and it was being told to the scanners that it is 1%. So this is like a huge problem, and it resulted in facing billions of fines, lawsuits, and most of the cars they were brought back. Obviously, the company did not claim responsibility, and they say that it is a fault. But deep down inside, probably the product engineers and the people would be knowing that they have done something fishy. So, what is the ethical context of it? That it involved intentional deception to gain market advantage and putting profits over public health. For profit, this business was doing something. So another interesting story of a scandal is regarding Wells Fargo Bank. No, now it's a very interesting thing, and I mean we should always learn from the business practices that are going on. Now, since it was offering incentives to the employees, to the workers as a bank, that if you generate more business, we are going to give you more benefits. Now, what the employees did, they started generating a data of fake cards, fake credit cards. And it ended, since the bank was not able to tap into that, like the employees were generating fake IDs and fake credit cards and showing that we are bringing in a lot of customers, but it was not actually happening because there was nobody actually coming. They were fake uh, credit cards, just to show that we are aggressively selling our business. So when this was exposed, Wells Fargo had to pay 3 billion in fines and fired over 5,300 employees and faced so many consequences. The ethical side of this is that it shows that environment of a bank, because of its target based practices, may end up leading it into a creating it into a toxic environment. This is very I mean I studied this case in a lot of detail because it is about Theranos, a health technology company, which claimed a very interesting case study. I would suggest you go through it, because when I'll be sharing the slides with you in your spare time, go through these cases. uh, because this company claimed, this CEO claimed that they have made a device uh, which would use your blood sample and tell you about certain issues that which are happening in your regarding disease in your life, and it presented itself as a healthcare innovation. But after a thorough review, it was figured out that this product was completely fake. I mean, this product, it did not work. The CEO knew that they are running a scam, that the product which they are claiming that it can do blood testing by simple one test. It was not actually there, so it created. Similarly, a recent phenomena with Uber was also in the news regarding ethical failures and corporate scandals, where Uber was charged with a lot of issues regarding their workplace culture, including sexual harassment, unethical business practices, and using softwares to avoid the regulators. There is a concept of whistleblowers. Whistleblowers are those people who work in an organization and who feel the ethical and moral obligation to stand up when something is not happening right and speak up to the media, speak up to the law authorities. This happened in the case of Facebook as well. Like Facebook was stealing the data of its users. So one of the persons from within Facebook served as a whistleblower. She came out, she went to the media, she told them that there is something illegal, something unethical happening at our company. So the law basically protects these whistleblowers. I would suggest that when you get the copy of these slides, please go into these cases in detail as well. So what is the conclusion, the final slide for today? Ethical leadership and CSR are not optional add-ons, but very critical for a sustainable, resilient, and trusted business. Companies that prioritize ethics and social responsibility are better equipped for long-term sustainable competitive advantage. And ethical practices can lead to both positive social and improved finance. It's not about the social impact as well. It is going to give the financial edge also. So as a student, as a future business leader, what you need to do, always remember to focus on your ethical principles that will guide your decisions, and think about how you can foster an organizational culture. How can you, as an ethical leader in future, how can you promote integrity? If you are working already in an organization, how can you promote integrity, transparency, and social responsibility? And always remember that profits can come and go, but it is integral, it is important, it is critical